How are things going for everyone? Hello, Sam. There are people who say you should never sell your Bitcoin. I want to talk about that because, I got called out on it, and some good points are being made. You might not ever want to sell your Bitcoin because it's a valuable thing, right? I guess it will always be worth more. It is going to go up in value a lot. You might not want to miss out on some of that good stuff. Mark Moss just made a film where he talks about the only way to retire with Bitcoin. Basically saying that you should keep taking out loans against your Bitcoin and pay back the loans you already took out. He points out some of my videos about it and says that people who say this might not really understand what they're talking about. Okay, so I want to talk about this. Another thing is that I just filmed this, but my microphone didn't pick up anything. Also, I'm having trouble talking today because I talked too much yesterday, so I sound like I'm coughing, right? I'm going to try to get through this. If it's okay with you, please subscribe and turn on the bell notification below the video so you can see more movies like this as soon as I make them. Besides the video, there will be some links below it. Check out Margex to see how you can trade cryptocurrencies with borrowed money, so they don't know how much Bitcoin you have or anything else about you since there's no KYC, right? That is pretty important. There's also a link to CoinWithAir in case you want to trade spot cryptocurrencies or futures. Mark Moss just made a movie yesterday. 66,000 views. Certain videos of mine are called out by him. I'll play this for you. That's where we are now. That's right, our money system is based on debt. It's time to go back to everyone's wrong, not just conventional money is bad. I made a whole movie about why boomers are having trouble now that they're retired. There will be a link to that movie here and in the show notes so you can watch it if you want to understand why the financial system is so bad. But let's get back to Bitcoin and these people who post movies like this one. All of them can be found on YouTube right here. How much Bitcoin do you need to take a break? How much Bitcoin do you need to take a break? How much Bitcoin do you have saved up? The problem they all try to solve is the same, so they all make the same videos. The same main problem, which is that our banking system is broken. Okay, and this is what you'll see. This is a big. Okay, he says a few more things, but the main point is that you shouldn't sell off valuable things. If you don't do anything, assets will become harder to find. This is an old way of thinking about getting rid of things. Getting loans against your Bitcoin is what he thinks you should do. Keep taking out loans, and then use new loans to pay off the ones you already have. I have to say that some good points are made here. Some good points are made. There's a chance you don't want to sell something as volatile as Bitcoin. Maybe. Now he talks about ways to make a lot more money, keep your assets, and give them to your children without selling them. He also does all the math. To be honest, there are times when you don't want to sell your things. Take a look. Suppose you own a piece of property that keeps bringing in money, but your house is giving you trouble. The roof gives way. Do you sell your rental property so that you can fix up your house? Not at all. You'd get a loan. It's possible to get a home equity line of credit or a loan to fix up your house. Then you pay back the loan. That makes sense. There may be some investments like real estate that have high transaction fees. There's a 6% fee to pay, but you could just borrow money instead. You might not want to pay taxes. You don't want to pay taxes if you buy Bitcoin and it goes through the roof, making you a lot of money quickly. You'd like to. You would not even have to pay taxes if you had this. If you borrow money, you don't have to pay taxes on it. I think there are times when this makes sense. You should know, though, that Mark and I talk to a lot of people. 60,000 people hear him. There are movies here. One of them is about how to retire on Bitcoin, and it has had 69,000 views. Take 10% loan to value, and then some of yours take 20%. I don't think that's a good plan for most people. Remember, that's a risky game where your beliefs play a big role. He is showing Bitcoin a 200% rise, a 150% rise, and a 50% fall. This is what he means 2026 at $750,000 Bitcoin. That by 2040, Bitcoin could be worth $25 million or $30 million or $30 million, which I believe is possible. You can get loans much easier if you think that Bitcoin will still go up in value by 50% a year, 50% a year, 25%, 25%, and then only go down by 15% over the next 15 years. Those are very good situations. At some point, I believe Bitcoin will grow large enough to move more like the market as a whole. Maybe not in terms of gains, but in terms of how it goes up and down. I think that in the future there will be bear markets that last longer than a year. It won't always happen in 4-year cycles because having Bitcoin becomes less and less important over time. For example, when the number of new Bitcoins issued goes from 0.2 to 0.1, it won't make as much of a difference in the price of Bitcoin as when inflation goes from 2% to 1%. What you think a lot of it comes down to? A lot of it comes down to whether or not the people you're talking to are very smart and will be able to handle taking out loans against such a volatile commodity. Remember that there is a lot of risk in Bitcoin loans. If you take out a loan at the wrong time, you could lose 75% of your money. It's very likely that you will lose all of your Bitcoin if you don't sell a small amount of it when prices are high. Of course, there are times when you should never sell a valuable item, but for the most part, I think it's smart to make a profit. Taking money out is easier than taking out a loan. Next year, take some of the money you made from flipping and use it to pay back the loan. Then keep doing it every year, right? We're sorry, but I think it would be smart to sell some Bitcoin over time. Have a good time with your loss. If you're about to retire and have, say, $5 million worth of Bitcoin and need $100,000 to retire or spend in a year, I think it makes more sense to sell 2% of your Bitcoin than to try to get a loan, pay it back, and then do it all over again, right? The amount that goes up in value will more than cover what you sold it for. For most people, I think it makes more sense to just earn a little money. We know when Bitcoin is worth less than it really is. I mean, look at this, okay? People didn't want to buy or talk about Bitcoin when it was worth $16,000 USD. If it's ever terribly undervalued, it's probably also ever overvalued, unless you want to hold on to Bitcoin forever. There are times when you might want to do that because you think the price is too low, but there are also times when you might want to make a little money because you think the price is too high. Also, I know I have a lot of Bitcoin in my portfolio, which is something that no financial advisor would tell me to do. Most people think I have too much Bitcoin in my portfolio, so if Bitcoin keeps going up in value, it will become an even bigger part of my portfolio than it is now. It's going to be most of my wealth. Let's say Bitcoin is worth $200,150 at that point. I don't really think of it as selling Bitcoin. Instead, I see it as trading it for something else, like a rental property that brings in money every month. This can help me buy more Bitcoin if the market goes down, or it just gives me peace of mind that my family will be taken care of no matter how volatile Bitcoin is. Now, if I have to pay a Bitcoin for it, okay, yes, that sucks, because I'll probably would make more money just holding out of the Bitcoin for the next 5 years or 10 years, but diversifying a bit, I think makes sense, right? A lot of it comes down to just your own sanity, so if you're taking loans. Against Bitcoin, assuming that's going to appreciate 50% in a year, then 50% the next year, then 25%, you're banking on a $26 million Bitcoin just to pay back your old loan and stuff and hoping that it doesn't draw down too much. I think that can make you go a little bit crazy, especially when you're in this game. Let's say you have a Bitcoin or a couple Bitcoin and they're worth $10 million. Like at that point, it's about wealth preservation, right? How do I just not lose this massive sum of fiat potential, right? Or this massive worth of Bitcoin, how do I not lose it? You don't take loans against it, or you can lose all of it because you try to take a 10th of its value or a 20th of its value, like just go sell a little bit of it so you don't lose all of it, in my opinion, right at this point. It's just about not screwing up. Don't screw up at that point if you've made it in Bitcoin. If you have multiple Bitcoin ads worth millions and millions of dollars, like just sell a tiny bit instead of trying to leverage it, trying to take loans against it. It's much better to try to